Do you know how long it takes for Zara to bring a design into a store? 5 weeks. And this time is fast, but this speed is superseded by brands like Boohoo or Missguided or ASOS that are bringing it down to 4 weeks or even 2 weeks. Speed is increasing, and they are doing good business. So they are growing 22% in the last 3 years. Do you know how many people is looking for more personalized products? So 50% of millennials and Gen Z are looking for personalized products, more personalized products. 70% of them are willing to pay up to 10% more for personalized products. So being able to target and locally address the customer, it's important in textiles as well. But then this targeting a lot may create a portfolio proliferation. You'll get lots and lots of references. ASOS holds 60,000 items in their portfolio, claiming every day that they have new items. You know H&M case last year, where they explained that they had a $4.3 billion inventory of unsold clothes. So you don't want to have inventory proliferation, you'd better manage very smartly the inventories. So how brands are trying to adapt to these trends and to improve how they manage their products. So digital production seems to be the answer. Okay? If you can imagine a product that you can produce very targeted products, even on-demand products, you can imagine a product that is able to produce locally, very sustainably. If you could imagine a product that is able to personalize, to deliver exactly what every single customer wants. This would be the ideal world, and this is what digital vision brings. What we prepared this afternoon is a panel, a short panel, with a couple of brands that have implemented digital into their supply chains. So I will call to stage Bart Seitz from Levi's, working on the denim digital finishing, Senior Director for Technical Innovation. Thank you, Bart. And then Louis Schuler, who is the print and material innovation from Under Armour. And I'll join them on the panel. The idea is having a panel. I'll be doing some questions to start with, and then we'll open as well the last 10 minutes for questions from the audience. Okay? So with that, maybe let's start with Bart. Can you give us a brief introduction about you, about your company? What do you do?
Sure. My name is Bart Seitz. I'm the Vice President of Technical Innovation for Ellis & Co. I also run and work in what we call our Eureka Innovation Lab, which is a small factory in San Francisco, a few blocks from the headquarters. That is a place where we experiment. And the digital movement that we're going to talk about today actually came out of that environment.
Thank you, Bart. And Louis, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm Louis Schuler with Under Armour, work on the material innovation team, and within that is Prince. And so over the last 2 years, we've really had a digital-first strategy, is what we call it. And we knew the importance of moving to a digital workflow. And we saw it from many levels. You know, it's things that have been discussed here today regarding inventory, turnaround times. But there's a lot of other things that, small pieces that streamline the process, give you design freedom. So for the last 2 years, we've been transitioning. And 2 years ago, we were about 5% digital. And this is just in regards to digital sublimation. And right now, we're about 90% digital. So,
and which are the products that you are addressing this 90%?
So it's all digital sublimation, but it's across all categories. So it's apparel, accessories, and footwear.
Okay. And in your case, Bart, I know that you are using digital for jeans. It's not digital printing. Can you explain a little bit which products and what is the process that you use?
Sure. So about 3 years ago, we came up with a process that answered some of these challenges um, that we've heard in the prior discussion. Agility, bringing the customer what they want when they want it, and avoiding high inventory. So ours, we don't digitally print the garment, the denim garment, but we use a digital file and a laser to what we call mark the garment or wear the garment. And I think it's important to remember, just for some context, if we take ourselves back 40 years ago, if you take yourself back 50 years ago, all jeans were rigid. They were right off the sewing line. When I was very young, I remember buying jeans that were scratchy and stiff. And then finishing came about, and for a while there were really only 3 finishes: dark stone wash, medium stone wash, and light stone wash. Fast forward to today, our company alone has to create 1,000 different finishes every season. So we're 2 seasons a year. So we need 2,000 different looks like this. And when I say finish, that's, if you go into our shop or any denim store, you see the variation in shade, wear pattern, destruction, holes, damage, color. So we have to provide that kind of variation. That's a big value add for our brand from a consumer standpoint. And traditional finishing was very labor intensive. It was very effluent heavy, inventory laden, and it used almost all manual applications. So sanding, dremeling, razor blades, things that people used to do their jeans at home, we were doing to jeans in large scale, tens of millions.
And what was the main reason then for digital? It's to manage the inventories. Which were the trends that were driving Levi's to go to digital?
To be honest, we had the challenge, the inventory challenge. We weren't a public company then, so ours didn't make the news like H&M. It would now. But we were constantly struggling with that. And the problem with traditional finishing is that the process is so long for design, development, commercial sampling, manufacturing, inventorying, selling, that it pushes the creative process as much as 16 months before the selling point. So, and you're all consumers, and some of you have children who are the next consumers, and you can't predict 16 months ahead which jean finish is going to be right. So we had that challenge, and we didn't really have a solution for it. We happened upon the FLX, that's what we call this technology. We actually happened upon it sort of accidentally. We were looking for, it was a sustainability effort. We were looking for a substitute for a chemical that we wanted to no longer use. And laser, while laser had been used for 15 or so years in the industry, it was always along with these manual applications. So we were looking at laser as a replacement for an oxidizer, and it sort of evolved in our minds that this could be an agility play as well as a good solution for sustainability. And because that laser uses a digital file, then we started to envision this end-to-end digital platform where you pivot that file back to product design. So we built tools within Eureka, because they didn't really exist for denim, design tools that could take these digital files, mix and match, and create new products, unique products. The beautiful thing is then if you only use that digital file and you don't let yourself use any kind of manual applications, then you can pivot directly, immediately to full-scale manufacturing. And that's really what FLX is. So we stage.
And then you get so you're already having numbers of the results, no? The number of blanks versus...
Unofficially, I think we've shipped 40 million units like this. So we're doing it as a supply chain, and it's growing every And, when we started doing it, it sort of begged the question, how late could we delay the designation of finish in our supply chain or in our product cycle? We chose the distribution center. That was our first stake in the ground. So now we create these bases, these dark, medium, and light, like a blank T-shirt model. We create those all over the world in our factories, and then we ship those into the market that we want to sell that garment in, not having to understand or realize which end finish it might be. So we stock that base in our distribution center, and then when we have a much better selling signal about what finish, and each base might have 8 or 10 possibilities that we've designed and developed, but we haven't produced. So then we wait and see what's selling, and we produce that in the market, in the distribution center, with 100% recycled water, which is another constraint that the first distribution center we put it in was in Nevada in the United States, in the desert, and we didn't have any water, so we had to come up with a way to do post-wash with 100% recycled water. So now we're envisioning we can finish anywhere. It begs the question, like, how much later? What's the next step after distribution? Retail.
Mm-hmm. Very good, thank you. But Luis, for Under Armour, you mentioned this digital first initiative. Is it because of the same reason that you're moving for inventory management?
There's a number of reasons. Of course, inventory management's important. Lead times, a lot of it's down to design freedom. If you go to digital versus analog, there's no repeat issues. If you're trying to do photoreal, more colors, some of our suppliers in the supply chain had limitations on the number of colors they could print with in analog. So going digital kind of gave us design creative freedom. Sustainability was a big story. I would say those were the biggest ones.
Mm-hmm. Because then it's not, you don't take a decision like this immediately. No? So it requires, as you say, new suppliers. So how was the journey to digitalization, from identifying that digital may be the answer to really implement? No?
Yeah, so I think it took a lot of buy-in from both internal and external partners. External was more difficult than internal, and that was just because of supply chain limitations. So that's why we initially just started with digital sublimation. Everybody who was running our bulk production on rotogravure already had some sort of background with digital, because that's where they do sampling, right? So attacking digital sublimation was kind of like the first priority. Then as far as, we are actually transitioning from traditional rotary wet print to direct to fabric, but that's been much more of a hurdle for us. And part of that is just because you not only need to know the expertise of dealing with the digital side of it, but you also need to have the fixation expertise, wash, the pre and post processing. And that's been a really big obstacle for us to overcome. And then as far as like internal, we had to get buy-in from all the teams. And I think something that's really important with digital is to look at it, make sure it's assessed as a full circle. How much you're streamlining. You may, right off the bat, we had product teams that said, well, what's this going to do to our margin? But then when we explained how many designs they were dropping each year and how much money they had in tooling going into engraved rollers, cylinders, rotary screens, and to have that flexibility to go to a line review and drop it without any sort of liability was really important. And I think too, something that's unique about Under Armour compared to some other brands that are in the similar market with us is that we're small enough to be agile, so that if we come up with a process, it's much easier maybe to get buy-in and implement it.
Mm-hmm. And I know that this links also with your vision of more local production, no?
Right.
So how this relates to your long term.
Yeah, so that's also like a really another important aspect is, as I was talking to internal teams, I was explaining that, like, this is coming. You know, there's nothing that we can do to prevent this. We're not going to continue to see physical strikeoffs. The only thing we can do is evolve and adapt to it. And then kind of understanding that the quicker we jump on this and the more expertise we get in it now, it's only going to help us in the long run. So
So this is what you've done up to now, no? Digital transforming up to 90% of your production on the denim. What are the things that are still not there, no? What is still missing from digital, either on other product categories or in the same categories that you are playing with? Maybe Bart, you can start.
I think the biggest thing that was missing for us that we're still working on is the rendering, because with polyester, there's a lot of digital tools out there that can let you look at an iPad and really envision a 100% polyester T-shirt very realistically. When you do that to a pair of denim jeans, it's not so nice. It looks very cartoonish. So we've poured a lot of resources into developing those tools, those digital tools for ourselves, the ones that didn't exist, and we're getting there. That was a real missing link in the beginning, but as we've evolved over the past couple of years, and we're going to go live on Levi.com July 24th with those renderings. So consumer in the U.S. at least for now, and then very quickly in Europe, will be able to go onto the website and have a 3D model that you can turn the jean around, flip it over, very realistic, and it's something, and that image you're looking at doesn't really exist. It hasn't ever been sampled. So that's a big hurdle, and we're excited to knock that one down, because then, as you were saying, like, there are also internal struggles. Our designers were the same way. They were like, how in the world do we develop like this, design like this? Is it going to take away our creative spirit? And so we've faced a lot of challenges like that. Interestingly enough, externally, consumer-wise, you all as denim consumers have told us in testing that you're not nearly as discerning as our designers are internally on how a jean finish looks, which is important, because we sometimes get lost in that internally, and really the consumer they want what they want when they want it, and that's really our internal motto.
In the case of Under Armour, what are your struggles or things that you are still not getting what you want?
I think as far as digital sublimation goes, it's all running pretty smoothly. We were really thankful to have good partners that believed in the vision and that bought into it, purchased new equipment so that they were able to handle the capacity. But the big struggle, I think, is going to be that same type of transition with direct to fabric, and just what I had mentioned previously about needing to have, the skill set not only in the digital side, but also in the traditional pre and post finishing side. In other areas where we're currently using digital or exploring digital, we have some different technologies where we're working with functional fluids, deposition of functional fluids, and a lot of work's going into digital dyeing. So, and then of course customization, like everything's also going to service the customized market.
So this was my next point in the question. No, it's customization or customer trends, looking for something more unique, more specific. How do you see it from Under Armour, and how you are tapping into this opportunity?
Yes, I think as a brand, it's like extremely important to offer customized product, and also to be able to differentiate yourself. Not only saying you have the ability to swap colors or swap graphics, put your own photo on it, things like that. But I think what's probably more important and more of a value add, in my opinion, would be how you can customize product for fit and function. So there's like a number of garments that we're kind of looking at that what would the digital workflow look like and how would it work so that you can do colorization, you can do graphic, and then you can do fit. And then in areas where maybe just like different compression, there's a lot of things you can do with function to tailor to the consumer.
That I understand that this is a new revolution in your supply chain to be able to deliver that. No?
Yeah, certainly is. And I mean, this customization thing would be more of either, like what you had mentioned, a local for local, and then eventually would be an in-store experience. But first, really, we have an advanced manufacturing facility in Baltimore, which we call Lighthouse. And there we, come to shows like this, work with a lot of development partners, and we bring in equipment, evaluate them, and kind of set up pilot lines. And then we have all of our suppliers come, and we kind of together evaluate what's going to work, what's not going to work, and it's a really good opportunity to kind of like be at the forefront and work with partners like HP so that they understand our needs.
And in the case of Levi's also, clearly a very personal item, no? What's the perspective?
Yeah, it's a very strong feeling. We generations of people have used Levi's jeans and jackets as a canvas for self-expression. I mean, it's going back to the beginning. It's the uniform and photography. People have such a strong emotional tie with a pair of jeans because it's sort of a walking history of what's happened. So to be able to create that yourself, we feel like is very important. And to be able to do it with lasers, so you have 1 foot, in history and 1 foot in the future, is really exciting. We dabbled in it last summer when I said earlier that we realized that we could finish anywhere, in the basement of our distribution center in the desert in Nevada. So as a proof point of that, we built a mobile unit last summer, and we dropped it in the Arts District in Los Angeles and did appointments with influencers and stylists. And people love to come in and build a finish right there on an iPad, and then literally 30 seconds later see a machine realizing that. And then you put the garment in their hands 30, 45 minutes later. So it's, as I said, first step is Levi.com this summer, and then retail is I'm sure.
Yeah, as far as digital printing, I'm not sure. I know many of the textile universities, they have digital printing equipment, but mainly we work with them on fiber, finish, chemistries, things like that are a bit more elevated where, they're working with PhDs and stuff on different projects. But I think there's certainly a need for it. So.
Yeah, and in fact, this is the proof, no? Knowing you both. So both the Lighthouse in Under Armour and Eureka Lab in Levi's, they have an educational side as well. Yeah. Educational, maybe not to the end consumer, but yes, to partners or to other players in the ecosystem.
Yeah, so we actually have sessions at Lighthouse where at the headquarters in Baltimore, there's 3,000 on that campus. So we have courses that are provided to all employees, so they can come and kind of something really cool about the Lighthouse is that you can do full products there. So there's printing, cutting, sewing. So people have the opportunity to come and not only learn to make garments on their own, but they can do their own designs. So it serves as a good spot for to evoke creativity and get people thinking and working together. But also just if you have an interest in learning, you can go over there and attend some of the seminars. So I was going to say it would actually it would be a really good opportunity to maybe bring in some local schools. Like that would be a way to kind of expose younger generations of what's happening in there and spark their interest. Because who knows, I mean, as fast as digital's growing, I'm sure there's big digital programs that are in the works. if not already. So, yeah.
That's one of the activities. So you have your independent lab in HP. We also have a team that is devoting to educate about the possibilities of digital, because sometimes it's not very obvious. Any other question from the floor?
I'd like to ask you about the inventory management. So now 95% is digitalized. So I assume you have a lot, you can reduce a lot of inventory risk. So if you can say how much. Also, 95% dye sublimation means only polyester. So do you have any idea to print digitally on cotton?
So the first part, the inventory management, unfortunately, there's many parts in the supply chain, and through our print and material innovation, we've kind of made quite a significant jump to the other components in the supply chain. So it's going to help. It's going to have a big impact on inventory management, but there's other variables, that also need to make that same sort of progress for us to have an overall goal of being as effective as possible. And then in regards to digitally printing on cotton, we don't actually do a lot of natural fiber, but we do some direct to fabric with reactive. So it's you kind of miss out on some of the sustainability benefits because you're still doing all of your pre and post stuff. But hopefully the ink companies and the chemical companies working on different chemistries are figuring that out so we can continue on the reduction of water usage.
Water is not consumable, so I offer you our pigment ink maybe in the future. Thank you very much.
In regards to pigment, pigment has been making great progress. But as someone who sits on the materials team, we look at all these finishes that we spend money on to finish. That's, pigment, hand. It's just, we can't really get buy-in. So there are the right types of fabrics and the right types of garments where pigment has its place. But generally, overall, we're very limited on where we can use pigment today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Still some crack fastness issues with pigment. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, there's just some functional benefits that we're getting out of.
You have an excellent conversation later because he's responsible for materials. So, any other question from the audience? No? No? Any other comment from you? Any other final comment?
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I now realize that I forgot to introduce myself or HP. Maybe I should do that. So HP, we recently introduced the HP Stitch printer that is bringing or reinventing sublimation because we are bringing thermal inkjet into sublimation technology, and we are providing then best color control, reliability and quality in our presses, to reinvent textile and innovate on textiles. And particularly about me, I'm working in engagement with textile brands, trying to innovate and find the next wave of innovation on textiles. We were mentioning pigment, we have color, there are several areas where we are collaborating for innovation, but I fully agree. Collaboration is one of the key words. So with that, I wanted to thank you, Bart, thank you, Luis, thank you, WTN, for organizing the panel, and thank you all for the attention. And well, if you want to see us and connect with us on the printer about innovating from brands, come and see us. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
That's good.
thank you.